And thank you to the amazing speakers and bands so far. Next up is Sniffany and the Knits. But first, I'm going to read something. I'm reading something that I've called Communist Erotics, the rising of the fucking masses, but I think you could call it anything, really. I'm reading from this book, which is called The Demonization of My Working Arse, by this writer called Hugh Lemmy. And I decided to read some excerpts from it because it's about sex and politics, and they're two of my favorite things. And I think it's really exciting to find those two things, like acute political analysis and sex writing in one same book. So I wanted to share it. And I think it's important to foster an engagement with politics on your own terms. And if it's sex and politics, then that's cool. But also because to read and imagine a revolution or a working class uprising or a riot in light of an orgy can touch upon something visceral in our bodies. When revolution feels unimaginable, impossible, I remind myself that we are fucking bodies, moving bodies, laboring bodies. I'm hoping that these excerpts can move our bodies to desire and imagine and generate anti-capitalist worlds, worlds that are grimy and pleasurable, worlds of violent and communal joy. So, for context, I'm starting reading at a point in the novel where two characters called Chubbs and Neil are sitting in a flat in London when a riot breaks out. And it's a really hot day and they're watching the news. Okay. An incident had kicked something off. A man appeared on the screen, ducking behind a car. He must have been just meters away from us. Other cars in the background burnt. His northern burr tempered what he said, recounted stories of heat and anger, of inevitability, of increased patrols. This is no carnival atmosphere. People here are angry at police patrols, angry at the responsible authorities, but most of all, his pause was interrupted by a bang, his head turned quickly to the side, angry at poverty. With there being no end in sight to either the heat or the poverty, what happens next depends on the police response. Another bang, and the camera swung with the reporter's head. A missile, a direct aim, caught live as a dark grey lump collided with the back of the riot policeman's neck, and he falls into the line of cops, ricochets himself, and hits the floor. Me and Neil watched less than a mile away. The evening sun filled the camera with a richness of colour, like the atmosphere was suddenly thin and airless, and light burst onto the lens. His head hits the floor once, twice, and as it comes to rest against the pavement, my arse cheeks pull tight against the leather sofa. My spine tears up through my body. I feel my balls contract as red blooms over the chalky tarmac on the city street. I turn to Neil, whose fingers tear against the sofa arm, and his eyes are damp and his lips parted as he watches the cameraman push through the crowd, as he watches the policeman in the line drag his lifeless body away from the gathered people. I grab Neil's thigh, crossing the border between cotton and skin, and grip harder as a rush is unleashed in my guts and my ring constricts. Effervescent anal activity, a fizzing orgasm, no metaphors, no sunlight and birds, no flowers, no nature, but my body rich and fleshy, feeling this rush of uncontrolled hormones. My body and Neil sat in this flat, in this tower block, located in a grimy city full of cops, a hot city, feeling this ecstatic pumping anal orgasm on this ripped leather couch. I pull his leg harder towards me and he grips my forearm. And on the screen, we see a man in front of the camera drop to his knees and hug his stomach too. And my dick fills with semen. And I can feel a powerful surge of cum shooting once, twice, 3 times from the leg of Neil's shorts onto the lino in a thick string. And his stomach pumping at the core, his belly round at the ends, inflating and exhaling as deep inside his prostate is pumping out hot ejaculate across my living room. And the riot squad drag their dead comrade out of the scene. Around them, men cling to street furniture, gripping themselves, the mic picking up chants no longer but orgiastic flows, guttural cries wobbling on the bottom note as a wave passes through the crowd, a wave of powerful butt-focused instant sex release. For a moment, there is stillness, a break in hostilities, a burglar alarm filling the space. And then a hail of missiles, sticks, cans, rocks, A mad fury tearing at the streets and benches, flower pots, bins. Anything not locked down is torn up. The whole infrastructure of the city, whatever can be found and turned into a makeshift weapon in a hunt for the return to that fevered rectal sensation and blood-stattered state apparatus, their blood, not ours. The reporter calls his producer. The murder of a policeman induces a city-wide spate of cosmic, effervescent anal orgasms, leading to a spree of civic-minded cop killings. Me and Neil spend the night out in the streets. That's how the night started for me, pumped and horny as fuck. All bodies everywhere, all fleshy and clothed and pumped full of blood when the missile leaves your hand. People who are alive, where alive means open, even forced open to possibilities beyond your control. Rich and loaded working class bodies are pregnant. We are flesh and fleshy life, and we are opposed to your written codes. I want to touch everyone around me. The girl breaking this window, the two boys who have pulled the Fed from his car and are dismembering his useless body on the garage forecourt with fat erections struggling through their pants, their bodily fluid shuddering through them as their prostates swirl with cop-killing joy. Pure joy. Hell yeah. Our bodies, alive and pregnant in this group who charge around the street. This is my strategy, I think. My strategy is bodily love. The breakdown of security for the rich and powerful in London was tied so closely to our feet and legs and chests and arseholes, I could only marvel. All change that happened was an inversion of the law of the Feds, as it restricted our movement, and here now we run unrestricted, not stopped and held and searched and arrested in our tracks, but where we put our bodies mattered for that night, for those months, for that time we were out of the shop and the office. And finally, that sweating fear of those around me, that fear of exposure and bodies uncontrolled began to lift off me. We were bodies together, and how we used them together like a diagram of a process all linked. How my body worked with the body of the boy I'm next to. That became our politics, because that's where power was. Up next is Sniffany and the Knits. Give it up.
That was great. That was absolutely great. Thank you. Some anal staircase type shit. Very, very good.